we are here with Nick, who challenged me to, to a debate. I told him like, hey man, I don't mind discussing stuff. I don't want it to be like too fierce, but we'll be intellectually honest and open-minded and talk about whether or not Biden deserves a ton of credit for the Medicare kind of drug pricing reform. So that'll be the main topic, but being the Nerds for Humanity show, like we'll let it go where it goes. And if there's other topics that you want to talk about, Nick, nothing's off the table. So
No,
welcome to the show and hello, nerds.
thanks so much for having me, Tom, and thank you to the nerd community. I need some personal guidance on this topic, and I just you have kind of a different point of view than me, and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to maybe learn from you and figure it out. And I think this could be a cool conversation. So
Love it.
again, it's nice to meet you, Tom, and glad to be on the show.
Yeah. So tell us a little before we jump into the main topic. Maybe just give a little bit of background about yourself. Where are you joining us from? I see that you're a forward volunteer, so that's awesome. But tell us a little bit more.
Damn, I've even got the math hat on.
Oh, that's old school. I love it.
And everything. I'm actually kind of new to the movement. So I grew up in Marin County, which is right across the Golden Gate Bridge, and that's actually where I'm living right now. I'm living in San Rafael, which is kind of like the industrial hub in the north side of it. It's a really nice place though, and I love the Bay Area. I love the tech community, and I've got all kinds of friends over here. And so 2022, the beginning of last year, I was actually living in the east of the state with
Mm-hmm.
my dad, and it was a very different culture and community, and it was very
Oh yeah.
interesting to be a part of and participate in. But I was also part. I was interested. I've always been interested in politics, and my dad convinced me. It was like the pandemic was ending. He's like, you should still try and do something. Why don't you go
Mm-hmm.
get involved in politics? And
Mm.
so I did. And I was living in the east of the state, and the most prominent politician was Kevin Kiley, who was going to run for Congress. And he is now a sitting congressperson, Kevin Kiley.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I went out, figured out that this is what was going to be happening, and I just got involved. I went to my local GOP field office, and from there, I just started swimming, and I volunteered a lot. I delivered signs, I canvassed, I talked to people of all different kinds of people, even people that I really don't have anything in common with, or like politically or personally. And that was a really cool experience for me, I think, for developing. And it only solidified my interest in politics, because it's like, how can we get together? My parents got divorced when I was like 11, so I think I have this urge to like, oh no, we can all get along. It's okay. But I think we can come to consensus on things, and so that's why I approached you. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
Tom,
Love it.
two
Love it.
friends. And
Yeah, and I applaud your desire to help kind of bridge the different sides of issues. Tell me a little bit about the congressional candidate that now is that won. What were his big topics that resonated with the voters?
Kevin Kiley. So
Yeah.
one thing that was contentious, he's been a big foil to Newsom. He's been probably the most anti-Newsom kind. Like
Oh,
he
okay.
leaned into that a lot during his campaign. His big claim to fame was that he sued Gavin Newsom with another congressperson, and it was a big event in
Okay.
Sacramento, and all the Republicans around Sacramento came and watched and were like, amazed by it. And Kevin is quite impressive. I mean, he went to Harvard, he went to Yale, which to some people is a little actually not that much credibility, but this is
That's right.
more suspicious than credibility. But he's an interesting guy. He's very, very academic and very involved in his work. So I didn't, and he's of course a congressperson, so I didn't get to relate to him much on a personal
Hmm.
level. But I got to know him a little bit, and he's very focused, and he's very driven, and he works very hard, and he's got these conservative values, which I like. some of them, contentiously, what the voters appreciated is that he was endorsed by Trump. He took the Trump nomination, and I asked him, this was I was driving him, and
Mm.
he reveals nothing. He divulges nothing, which is a skill that I lack. But I'm like, are you nervous about this Trump presidency? Are you nervous
Uh-huh.
about the endorsement? What was that calculation? He's like, oh yeah, and then he just kind of looked back at his laptop while I kept working. So
Next question.
yeah, I tried. I prodded, but so, yeah, his biggest things are localization of the law, which I really endorse. In
Hmm.
Placer County, they were able to um, dampen some of the COVID restrictions on businesses and schools, which I think is a topic that is up for debate.
Hmm.
Um, and in the school curriculum, there's no like whatever this CRT Republicans claim to be a thing. I've never really seen any like critical race theory, so I know it exists at the college level. I haven't seen it at my brother's age level, but it definitely wasn't in the school system in Placer County. So that, and if culturally, if that's what they want to do, fine, whatever. I don't care. So I appreciate the localization of the law.
Mm.
He's got a fledgling career, so we'll see what he does. He could still take a turn towards.
Yeah, that reminds me. I think that it was like a year or two ago where so I have some members of my family who are big Trump people,
Me too.
Trump supporters.
Mhm.
And my mom and one of my brothers are very, very hardcore MAGA. And they were convinced that Newsom was being, was going to be removed from office. That I think the information sources they had were like, oh, it's going to be a landslide. Like nobody likes Newsom in California.
The recall.
And yeah, the recall. And they were shocked at the outcome of the recall. And I was like, it's not a high bar to start a recall. So just because like a recall is underway, and they're like, but I think their sources of information led them to believe that California was in a civil war, and everybody hates Newsom,
So
and
that could have been Kevin Kiley.
yeah, it could have been.
It could have been Kevin Kiley. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't let. I kept knocking on the back rooms. I got really close with the campaign manager, and he does a lot of stuff over. What I really was more appreciative of Mike, what he taught me was volunteer organization and the power of actually developing a relationship with volunteers
Mm.
and how much you can get done in politics if you just have a once a month meeting that 300 people come to. You know,
Yeah.
but if they come, chances are all those people can donate and they all have friends who can volunteer. And so I appreciated that learning experience from it. The
Totally.
politics I'm unsure about. I did feel uneasy working with them. Uh, not Christian people are great. I actually worked at a church while I was up there as an office manager for a church. So I love the faith communities, but there was some hints of the Christian nationalism that I felt not like racially, but just like
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't agree with imposing your view on abortion on everyone. That
Hmm.
was very strong from that community, and
Yeah.
it was I had these very difficult conversations with people, and we just disagree fundamentally, and that should be okay. You know,
So, how did you make the transition from working for GOP candidate, to getting involved with the Ford Party?
I moved back to Marin. I decided I want to move back home. I'd been living all around, all up and down the coast, Arizona, and I moved back here. And then I saw I was looking for jobs, and
Hmm.
Ford put out a job ad actually, and I thought, oh, they're getting serious. I had bought all the merch. I bought this
Hmm.
hat, even though I was working for Republicans. I bought this hat, and obviously, Andrew Yang was like a lightning bolt. And I've seen him speak recently. He's an incredible stump
Oh
speaker.
yeah.
He's got the vision. And I'm like, if I, you know what, why don't I go try working for a party that I can fully get my, emotional support behind, my
Hmm.
fully, my policy endorsement, all of that, because Kevin and I disagreed on maybe a couple things, but it was still enough to, not have that total sense of alignment. So I was like, where can I be totally aligned in my politics? And I thought Forward was the place. And I still, I know, Kevin's doing his thing, and I really appreciate what he's doing on water and again, localization of the law and stuff like that. But Forward is the place for
Yeah.
me, man.
So, and are you still working for Forward?
I am. I am.
Love
I
it.
am. I am a state lead. I'm the NorCal coordinator. Actually, I'm
Love
part
it.
of one of two people. My cohort, my compadre Nancy Vogel, and we're replacing Sarah Lashenko, who just got a job at Lawrence Livermore Lab, which is very exciting. And we're
Mm,
of course of course she couldn't turn that down, but she's still with us as a leader, and so we're just trying to get it done how best we can. It's like I've never been a part of a startup, but from what I understand, it seems, feels like that. Lots of ups and downs and
yeah,
struggle.
absolutely. Well, thanks for all you're doing. And I'm a big fan of more competition. And a couple months ago, switched my party affiliation to the Common Sense Party. So hoping that we get some more voices at the table. Let's now jump into the origins of this call. So I did a tweet, I don't know, like a week ago or so, and I said, "Hey, as much as you or I am not super thrilled about Biden, I got to give the guy credit that this Medicare drug reform negotiation is kind of a big deal, and it's something that Trump had promised but didn't get it done. And so kudos to Joe Biden. And then you said, "Hey, I want to discuss this." And so here we are. I'm curious, like when you saw that, what went through your mind, and what were you
My
thinking?
disdain for the duopoly party and their leadership. No, I mean I want to give credit where it's due. I think that Biden has been a better president than Donald Trump. He's gotten pretty much all that Trump got right. He's doing it still, and but I also I know politics, and I am supremely suspicious of government, and I have come to really appreciate this anti-establishment ideals and principles and theories, and this is what has attracted Trump people to Trump. This is the false promise of Trump: is he, like RFK, he will um, rile against the establishment, but Trump had no idea how to get any of it done. He had no idea how to drain the swamp, or he's not going
Hmm.
to be able to help reform the incentives in government. He could talk all about them ad nauseum, supposedly participated in them, but he's not going to. He doesn't know how to fix them, and that was obvious. And I think that this anti-establishment energy is something that Forward needs to embody more, because that's where a lot of their supporters are at. Honestly,
Hmm.
the post duopoly, they want to move beyond the paradigm that is this, Republican Democrat kind of. Some people think of it as a hellscape. I mean, some people are extremely dissatisfied and it has hurt a lot of people. Our politics has made a lot of people struggle, and so or our lack of politics, our lack of cohesive, accessible politics. To some degrees, I mean, I know that things have been getting better throughout history, but I don't think that I don't think that we have it should be bashful about asking for more. I don't think that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, so let me play back what I think I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is, hey, you're like many of us, ready for more options. You don't think it should be limited to these two traditional parties, and that when you saw me say like, hey, Biden is the first president to empower Medicare to negotiate drug prices, and that's like a big deal and better than what Trump did. And it sounds like your reaction is like, yeah, but we can do better. That let's not pat the lesser of two evils on the back kind of thing. Is that your view, or?
Yeah, yeah. It's what we could do far better, and the
Mm-hmm.
solutions are in hand. I could tell you 3 or 4 things that Biden could have done better on that field, and I'm just touting myself, obviously, but I get my information from Crystal Ball. Shout out Crystal Ball. Breaking Points. Breaking
Mm-hmm.
Points. It's better than most media, I gotta say. And Chris, to educate myself on this, I just listened to the 7 minute Crystal segment on it. I typed in on YouTube, Biden Medicare cap
Mm.
breaking points, and
Mm-hmm.
and she says that it's just modest. It's frankly it's quite modest, that the concessions that they ended up making towards the money, big interests, which is big pharma. And I don't know if you've watched the two latest video novels on, the limited series Dope Sick on HBO, and then Netflix just came out with one about the Sackler family.
Mm.
And this is hot in the pop culture right now, of how Pfizer or Purdue, Purdue, I think it's
Purdue would be the
Purdue.
opioid stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all coming to a head right now. I think just emotionally in people's minds, and at the same time, Biden is playing with kid gloves with Eli Lilly regarding insulin. I mean, insulin is this, and I've had long debates about this. You were actually in the space with the libertarian, when many of our libertarian friends that I'm
Mm-hmm.
associating with and camaraderie with. They say that, oh, the insulin is the best quality here. It is of a degree much higher, and so it deserves a higher cost. And that's frankly not that true. I mean, there is comparable insulin that's served in Canadian markets that goes for $9 a vial. And with a stroke of Biden's pen, or maybe with just a little bit of prodding, he could allow for the United States to purchase insulin from. I'm not talking about undoing the market or whatever, or subduing Eli Lilly as a company. I'm talking about simply allowing Americans to be competitive with Canada on insulin. That's something that's doable, achievable with the stroke of law, and they're not even talking about that. They didn't even cap it for everyone on Medicare or government medical subsidy. They capped it to seniors on government subsidy. So a kid who's got diabetes on a government subsidy still has to pay, whatever the uncapped limit is, which is, it's just, to me, it's disgusting.
So let me maybe share where I think we agree and maybe where we disagree. Um, I think if your argument is, hey, there's so much more that can and should be done, and Biden has not done as much as he should, then yeah, definitely. I would love to see way more reform on not just healthcare, but a variety of issues like, gerrymandering reform and entitlement reform. There's a million things.
AI.
So,
You
yep,
don't,
AI. So
you don't
we,
have to do it yourself, but you you want it done.
yeah, so we can agree that for sure, Biden's he's not walking on water. I think where we disagree is, especially when it comes to the 2024 election, there is a narrative that I object to, which is like, well, they're both terrible. These are two wings of the same bird. And my view is like, whoa, no, no, no. Like, at least Biden did cap insulin costs at 35 bucks an hour. Trump did not. At least Biden did start giving Medicare the opportunity to negotiate drug prices on 10 of the top, most expensive drugs for seniors. Could he do more? Yeah, but when you compare the two, like, what did Trump do for healthcare? Like, he eliminated the mandate, which was a very Republican idea of requiring everyone to get insurance. And I don't know what else. I mean, he promised when he ran for office the first time, Trump did promise on day one to eliminate Obamacare and replace it with something that he said would be cheaper, cover more people, and higher quality. And he said he would do it like in a matter of days.
Yeah, my dad missed that one. He missed that.
Right? I mean, he promised, and he's now promising I think he's gonna eliminate the national debt. I think he in like he said he was gonna do it like in one term. He didn't. He added more to it than any other president. I think he said he's going to stop the war with Russia in 24 hours. Like, he says a lot of things, but to say that Biden and Trump are the same, to me, that just doesn't line up with the facts. They might be both part of the same corrupt duopoly. I'll agree with that.
Okay.
But come on, like, you have Inflation Reduction Act, you have the CHIPS Act, you have Medicare drug pricing. Like, those are real things. And Trump did a tax cut for very wealthy people, and I appreciated that. I benefited from it, but I didn't need it.
Right.
And then he built 40 miles of a wall. But what else did he do?
The wall is what people want, which I think you should just do it a little bit. Honestly.
Well, then if you're gonna do it, then at least get the job done. Like, he promised he would build that wall because he was the best builder. Nobody builds walls better than Donald Trump, was what he said.
That man is the worst builder. He's the worst contractor in the history of the United States.
Seriously, he's one of those guys that he'd sell you a condo and everything would be busted and you'd be filling out all these reports.
I don't know how my dad doesn't appreciate that. It's so infuriating because, like, and here's the thing, my dad's a very smart man, and I understand how a lot of smart people are wooed by this confidence man, and his media is impeccable, and his message is so to ear to the ground. They know not only are they influencing culture now because they have the money to do so, but they were listening to the culture in a way that Obama is not physically able to, in a way that Obama just doesn't even like the people that he would have to listen to in order to, that's just the thing about him, so. And Hillary Clinton, the same. She calls them, half the country, the people that she wouldn't waste her time with, deplorable. And from her highfalutin point of view, whatever, that is a fucked up, that is a messed up thing to say. And again, so divisive, so
I hear you. I mean, I think with your dad is kind of like with my mom, where I think deep down inside, she knows that Trump is kind of questionable. I mean, she's also like a practicing devout Christian. And, Donald Trump's not the most, holy person that's ever walked the earth, let's just say. And so, but I think for her, the Democratic Party, in her mind, is so offensive that she feels like, well, she's got to stick with the home team because the other team is dismissive, or she's convinced that they want to socialize everything and the government's going to take over all private enterprise, and and that's what she hears from her news sources, that Biden's going to secretly take over like all private companies. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he hasn't done that yet. Like, and they're like, well, but next term he's going to do it. And so here we are. In that sense, the two parties are clearly problematic. I do think one is worse than the other.
I'm gonna have to, I'm not gonna generalize and say one is worse than the other, because there are certain Republican legislators that I like over many Democrat legislators, and there are certain Democrat legislators, and certainly Biden over Trump 100%. But I think that I can afford a protest vote in California. And it will certainly be protest voting. If I don't write Andrew Yang in, I'll be voting for Cornel West. Or Marianne Williamson is also, I might even go RFK, even though some of my socialist professors heavily criticize him. So, but anyway, I think that we're in total alignment, and it's funny how in the tiny little text blurbs that we do, it appears that we might think differently, but when we're able to say it all, our whole spiel, it's obvious how we're exactly aligned.
That is so funny how a tweet can engender, a certain response. And I'll take ownership. Like, I put a GIF in there of Biden, smiling. And, so I was like, yeah, freaking Trump, he's terrible. So I understand why someone could look at that and be like, no, hold on. These two parties both suck. But that's the thing with Twitter, like you don't get the nuance. And I've tried, I still do to this day. Like, I was debating with someone on um, job growth, and I was like, wow, it looks like under the so-called communist socialist disaster Biden administration, there will have been 13 million jobs created while he's been in office. And people were saying, which is more than Trump. And then people were like, well, that's not fair because Trump had COVID. And so then I said, well, here's the data on jobs created in the first 3 years of Trump versus the first 3 years of Biden. And Biden created more. And then they said, oh, but that's from the Department of Labor. That's not the real numbers. I don't trust. So now where do we go from here?
Yes, yes. I know. I had to. I know. I know. I had to really cement in my dad's head. I mean, my dad gets the fake things online, but he doesn't really get how fast it's moving. I don't even get how fast it's moving in the next month, and he's certainly not like and he could have his ear to the ground. He's just busy. He's just busy with his kids and
Sure.
his working, and so yeah, like this artificial intelligence, these images who get a lot of people these images of Trump and the Pope and all these AI generated.
Oh.
Some people just take them at face value, and so that promotes a lot of confusion. There's a lot of like COVID misinformation, really, and I think that a lot comes from Russia. There's this, there's these images of like doctors pulling clots or whatever, really graphic images going around Twitter. There are these really kind of seedy sub communities in Twitter, and of course in all internet. And I am of the opinion that that's okay. That's better than being suppressed or shadow banned or So,
Yeah, it is. I do see a lot of interesting commentary, and I don't know if it's a coincidence, but they're usually like a handle with like a bunch of digits at the end for their tag, and you're like, I'm sure many of them are, real people, but yeah,
some are for sure bots, and they're bots for all different purposes. There are Chinese bots, there are GOP bots and DNC bots.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, and they can be pretty good now. So, related thing. So my other MAGA family member, my brother, he just texted me this morning. Every morning I get a wonderful political text from him, which is, I think he knows, like really gets me going. And he was like, what do you think about this? And it was a video of Tulsi Gabbard talking about something about some trans child or something, some child going through like gender.
It's a contentious topic, Joe.
And I was like, bro, I'm not gonna watch the video because that is not a topic that I feel passionately about. And if some family and some individual wants to go down a path, honestly, as long as they're not harming me or other people, like I don't really care if they want to identify as whatever pronoun, I don't care. That's fine. It's not a big deal. And I said, why aren't you sending me links about the national debt or entitlement reform or gerrymandering reform or open primaries or climate, like something else that really matters to us? And he's like, oh, well, just so you know, Tulsi's not a Republican, so even she agrees that this whole trans thing. And I feel like the environment out there, there are people who profit from creating this tension and drama, and they grift. Does Sean Hannity really, and Tucker Carlson? I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't believe half the stuff they're talking.
No, I think it's.
But they're just like, ginning it up, and it's gotten my brother off to this point where he's so terrified, and he's like, you're in California, how do you feel about all this CRT stuff being put on your kids? And I was like, bro, I
What?
look at all of their curriculum. I look at their homework. They're learning about kinetic energy and potential energy. They're learning about Python. There's no CRT agenda. And I live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, yeah.
Like and Nancy Pelosi just miles away from her. So he's like, well, you better check because they're probably trying to convince your sons to change their gender. I'm like, I think their pronouns are okay. They'll be fine.
I will say it is an incredibly politically contentious subject, and I could have a whole debate on this.
Mm,
We could have a whole another podcast on this, and I do really want to get into it because I do feel like there needs to be some needle threading, and I appreciate your point of view, Tom, that this doesn't affect me or my immediate family, and it hasn't so far. I don't see any evidence of it in the schools. Yeah, I would rather just leave it alone. But some people really, really want to talk about this, and some people,
yeah.
and here's the thing: the propaganda, the duopoly propaganda. This time it's Republican propaganda. There's MAGA Inc. and
Hmm.
Turning Point. Sometimes, honestly, Turning Point and and Moms for Liberty. Which are all great organizations in lots of aspects, but sometimes they're used to push this uh, this fear, this transphobia, and this phobia of learning about these things, which is natural. I mean, it's natural state of human beings to be phobic about things. It's natural to be, but it. Uh, my point is that it has solidified the resistance to this kind of stuff, and now we have to address it. We're at the point where at least a quarter of the state, and some people have legitimate grievances with their family, but other people just have this opinion, and now it's in the political sphere, and Republicans aren't putting it down. So I would hate to have to address this topic, but I feel like it's critical to sort this out. And I've talked with all kinds of people about this, and it's possible to reach bedrock and respectful conclusion on these things, but the parties are not interested in doing that. They're interested in dividing us, and
Hmm.
promoting the worst aspects of humanity. And we got to fight that.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of energy that he spends on this trans thing, it reminds me of in 2016, he was convinced that Sharia law was going to be introduced all across California. And I was like, where? Because he lives in Florida. He gets information from like InfoWars and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Somebody said, by the way,
what's that?
like Alex Jones is a comedian, by the way. People have forgotten that, and Alex Jones forgot that, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So and I told him, I said, I think the sources of information you listen to have a vested interest in convincing you that there's this terrible boogeyman out there. In 16, it was Sharia law. Now you're convinced that there's some trans agenda that's going to destroy the nuclear family or whatever.
Right.
And frankly, the people talking about the trans stuff the most are the MAGA people. Like most of us don't encounter this. It's not a topic.
I have trans friends. This is something I live in.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he's like, well, how do you feel about the NCAA like swimming championship? I was like, you don't have kids. Why do you give a crap who's competing in some freaking college sport championship? Like,
It's up to
what?
the girls, honestly. If if the team, if they're cool with it, if they don't want to do it, I'll support them.
Whatever.
Work
Yeah.
out a team, whatever. But it's not. It's certainly not up to me. I don't swim in girls' swimming leagues.
Of all the things we could be spending energy on, like this is not in the top 5, in my opinion.
No.
Just like live and let live, and let's focus on a working government that gives us good results. But that's not what we're faced with for 2024. I know we're a little over time, but I did want to ask you, Nick. So it sounds like you're going to be doing a protest vote likely in the presidential if the nominees are Trump and Biden, or irrespective of who the nominees are, because maybe they wouldn't be.
Oh no, yeah, if for sure if there's better nominees and I want to put my thumb on the scale, but if it's Trump and Biden, 100% protest vote.
Yeah. And what's your prediction on who will be the winner?
Ooh, I don't think Trump. I don't think Trump has the magic anymore. I mean, I think if Biden can stay, I hope that he stays healthy. But if short of any sort of catastrophe there, I think that Biden will pull back into the presidency. I mean, it's not about him. It's honestly, you've seen Obama come out on his latest media tapes. He says, "Yeah, I would love to be president again, but I don't want to actually be in the office. I'd like to be in the background. I'd like to be in my sweats, taking the calls, and I'd rather have someone else do all the pomp and circumstance." And that's what's going on with the Biden presidency. I think that's what people want to feel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Trump has really he has held on to his hardcore supporters, like the 1 out of 3 who love him, and there's nothing he can do that will probably shake them off. But I do think there's a lot of independents who are just tired of him, and they don't love Biden, but they'll vote against Trump again if they have to.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think that it's going to squeak out to be another boring Biden term.
I would love for Biden not to run for re-election. Like, technically, he hasn't filed his final paperwork. And if we had an open primary in the Democratic side, like open meaning like, up for grabs primary, oh my God, that would be so exciting. Just watching those Democratic debates would be amazing. But absent Biden pulling, like, stepping back or having health issues, or I don't know about the Hunter stuff. Like, it may get bad enough that he has to just.
I mean, I
say,
think
hey,
that frankly, I could be convinced that there's corruption there, legitimate corruption there. I mean,
it would not shock me.
Oh
It
no.
would not shock me. Yeah.
I mean, frankly, Biden has had more opportunity to be corrupt than. I mean, Trump has always been corrupt from the private side, but Biden's had this whole long career. I wouldn't be surprised, but I give Barack Obama the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that I respect him and I respect his leadership in and I think he's a very smart guy. I think that he might have 1 or 2 blind spots, but that's I really respect a lot of what he did. And he didn't like Joe Biden. He was forced to work with him, and he's forced now to work with him still as the Democratic candidate. Barack is still big in the Democratic Party, and they still defer to him for, I'm sure, a lot of these, campaigning strategy and stuff like that. I'm sure he's still active. He's got an office and everything. He's.
I'm a big fan of his. I actually. He was the reason I switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. Yeah, I caucused for Obama against Hillary in 2008, and it was super awesome. And he was kind of the upstart channel. He was kind of like Buttigieg. Like, people were like, "Where did he come from?" And so that's always fun.
Yeah,
kind of rooting for the underdog.
he gives me a Yang kind of feeling of a different maybe.
Yeah. Well, look, Nick, it's been great having you in the Nerd Zone. Yeah. I'm so glad we were able to kind of share perspectives and try and understand where each one was coming from, and we probably found a lot of common ground, I feel like, and excited to see what happens with the Forward Party in the future, and glad that you're at it, and say hi to Andrew if you run into him.
Well, I'll see him at American Democracy Summit at the end of this month, actually. So
excellent.
I wish you would come, but it'll be fun, and I'll take lots of pictures, and I'm sure I really hope to talk to you more again on Twitter, and
man. You're welcome to come back anytime. Just let me know. We'll kind of get you on the schedule, and we can. There's going to be lots of fun topics, I'm sure. So just hit me up.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so
All right,
much.
Nick. Take
Appreciate
care, buddy.
it. All right.
Bye. All right. I think that's an example of how Twitter is kind of interesting, but also does not at all bring people together. If only we could all get on a live stream on a regular basis, maybe. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't gotten a hardcore, pissed off MAGA person on the show before. But maybe I should. That'd be kind of an interesting experiment to see if we could find any common ground. That would be hard because, as you all know, I really don't care for former President Trump. I find him deplorable, and I feel like he's misled a lot of his supporters. But I want to also thank our members who make this channel possible. So after that. So first, I'm going to thank our members, and then I'm going to give you my 3 takeaways from my conversation with Nick. Okay, but first, we got to thank our biggest supporter of all, which is, let me turn on the music. You had a question here. I don't know when the Democracy Summit is, but I will look into it because Nick mentioned it too. So yeah, I'll look into it. Let's see. Okay, I gotta get our music, dudes. Gotta get the closing music. There we go. Okay. DK saying that if I had a yeah, you guys know how much TDS I have. So if we have a hardcore MAGA, we may need a moderator. I don't think it could get messy. And as Jackson, a member, says, both GK and DK and Jackson are members. We might need real-time fact checking. And unfortunately, I was hoping DK Metcalf was a secret political junkie, but we got a different DK, also awesome, also supporter of the channel. DK Metcalf, if you're watching, good luck this season. Hopefully you connect with Gino all the time. All right. So, Soldier 1, Senior Vice President. Okay, next. Thank you, Soldier 1. Highest member. Next highest, Kristen Slevin and Bike. Kristen's been supporting the channel for 44 months. Damn. Thank you, Kristen. Hardcore, Gene, David, DK. Hey, isn't DK in the chat? Jekalego, Kirsch, Mr. History, Mona, Vaughn, Yang, Dean, Galessa, J. Perrin, Dana, Jason, Daniel, Mickey, Yoda, and Unkyo. Hardcore. And then entry level, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can help make this channel possible and help us create more content by hitting that join link, like Lisa, Brandon, Sophia, Doris, Emerald, Ben, Ira, Elizabeth, Shoni, Dr. William, Karen, Mai, Brittany, Lori, Wana, Kevin, T, Jeremy, David, Nicholas, Mike, Zig, Roberto, and Jackson did. I think Jackson's in the chat as well. So you all are super, super awesome for helping make this channel possible. Part of that channel money goes to paying for our podcast hosting fees. So if you like this, you're watching this on YouTube or Twitter, and you're like, man, I wish there was an audio podcast, you can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Nerds for Humanity. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, nerds. Have a great long weekend. And do me a solid. If you can't join as a member, can you give me a like? If you thought Nick and my conversation, you want to see more of that, you thought it was useful, hook me up with a like. And then comment below on whether or not I should try and get a Ultra MAGA onto the show. It could be dangerous. I feel like I would get swatted. But who knows? Maybe we should give it a shot. With that, goodbye, nerds.